All right, everybody, welcome back into Inside the Game podcast.
We are a soccer nation.
Have such a deep appreciation for hyper-local, community-based, lower-level soccer. There's going to be millions of fans over here that want to watch and consume as much football as they can.
What you are doing is important. And this is all about, like I said, spreading the gospel. It takes a village, right?
No, I just really appreciate being on here and you being able to provide this platform for, us and all those people grinding away at the lower leagues, just trying to make great things happen. So I really appreciate you, and you guys know what you're doing. And
Oh, missed it. Dang it. Anyway, welcome into Inside the Game, episode 329. I missed throwing the highlighter at the camera, so my apologies. Anyways, welcome back. It's been a minute since we've had it. We're all settled back in from the wonderful USL2 finals where Vermont Green won that national championship against the Flint City Bucks, but we are back officially. Make sure you guys like, subscribe. I think it's been like 2 weeks since we've had like a studio show. We obviously went on the road for we are back here. My name's Ryan Glinsky. Smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. We've got James Schofield in the building as well as he's our producer. Baco already in the chat, and make sure you get your thoughts in the chat. He says, nice to see you back, brother. Well, nice to see you too, Baco. Baco, nice to see you again. If you've got any thoughts on anything about it, about these games, or what we're going to talk about at all, or anything in general, make sure you guys get into the comment section as well. All super chats will be read as well. So anyway, let's talk about the couple things that we'll be getting into here today. As James throws it up for you guys, we will be talking obviously about Pochettino. Is he going to be here long term? I don't believe he's going to be here long term into 2030, but there's a possibility that he does, and I really hope that there's a release clause in there somewhere, and that'd be the most American thing not to throw a release clause in there. Anyway, the EPL is wide open right now. If you look at the teams, like the big teams, like the Arsenals, the Liverpools, the Cities, whatever it is, they're struggling in terms of their fitness at the moment with all their players due to the World Cup, and I think the World Cup, you're going to see that affect a lot of leagues around the world, and especially over in Europe where the majority of those players play. Then Xavier Gozo, he is heading out to Crystal Palace, at least it should be. I think it's like just about confirmed on everything. But yeah, he's making a $15 million move over to the EPL, and then more FIFA corruption. So that's usually how this all works with FIFA. Infantino, UEFA, CONCACAF, and the Asian Football Federation came out with something this morning about it. They're still upset all the time with Infantino. Dave says, good afternoon, stranger. Good afternoon to you too, Dave. But we'll start off though. We'll just recap. Obviously, the reason we weren't doing a show last week and the week before was because we were dealing with the USL2 finals out in Flint, Michigan. So like an hour and some change north of here, and it was a wonderful experience. a great game. Vermont Green was able to win that one. Ryan Zelfro got the PK, won that one. They have not lost. Vermont Green, the back-to-back national champions, they have not lost a game since July. It's July 2024. I don't know the exact date. I think it's like July 24th, July 27th, 2024 was the last time that they have lost a game. But shout out Vermont Green, Chris Taylor, and all of them who win another national championship. The Flint crowd, the Flint faithful, they showed out, though. I think 7,000, 8,000 people showed up for that game inside Atwood Stadium. It was a wonderful environment. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the broadcast that we put on for you guys. It was an absolute blast doing it, and Vermont Green, another national championship. And if you look at Vermont, though, the state of Vermont, they're a wealth of riches in terms of soccer. The college won a national championship in 24. And then the USL2 sides won 2025 and 2026. And then the women's side obviously made it all the way to the USLW final this year before falling to Salmon Bay. So it's been an absolute blast covering the USL2 and the USLW this season, but it is officially over as of 9 days ago, and Vermont Green is your champs. Again, if you aren't following us on social media, you guys can keep track of those entire two leagues on our social media pages. And even anything else coming up here in the club season. But James, your first time in the USL2, USLW, how was your experience this year?
Man, I gotta tell you, it was pretty epic, to be honest. I mean, I did not expect it to be kind of as like just big deal as it was, right? Because I've never actually been even to that stadium or anything. Like, I've produced matches and everything, but actually being there, it's a completely different vibe. You know, when you're actually in that stadium, and plus, I mean, we were at the historic Atwood Stadium, right? I mean, there was like big deal people have been there.
Presidents have been there.
Exactly.
They campaigned there.
I remember you were talking about, like, I think Kennedy rolled through there.
Kennedy and Roosevelt are the two big presidents that have campaigned there.
Yeah. So, I mean, and again, going back to kind of like how much I'm loving soccer, because it's not just what's going on the pitch, but everything around it. Like, just the thought of all that history and being able to be a part of that, and being able to work the camera during that match, that was so good. I mean, I was a little disappointed in the result. Like, don't get me wrong, Vermont Green was amazing, but obviously I had to root for the home team, right? Because, I mean, I was here in Michigan, so. But just the fans, I mean, it was ridiculous. The atmosphere, I mean, it was lightning in a bottle almost, that match, watching that.
Yes, and the fact that Zelfro, the teenager, it was a crazy 2-minute stretch there where they had the horrible own goal, and then
oh my gosh, yeah.
And then actually we probably have highlights, so you may have to download those highlights and throw them in. But and then obviously the goal from Paiva right after, but. Zelfro put in the PK. But before we get into our first topic, I was arguing with some Mexico fans on social media yesterday because I don't think they realize context and that matters in games and stuff. So yesterday there was a supposed red card, or there was a red card, and it was a questionable red card, I really thought, between the USA and Mexico in the U20 Gold Cup final. Again, don't care if they win or lose. I just was checking if they won or not. Obviously, USA would have won. I would have loved that. But I was just checking if they won, found out they lost. Then I see the questionable red card, throw it up on social media. People overreacted like they normally do. But look, Mexico, you put your best group of U20 players outside of Gilberto Mora, I think is his name, in the World Cup. Outside of him, that was every U20 player was your best players that you could have put out there. All of the USA best U20 players are either in the MLS right now playing games, or they are with their club teams overseas getting ready for the season. Matthias Albert was in England. They just beat Arsenal 2 days ago in the Emirates Cup preseason game. He wasn't there. Kevin Sullivan just played in I forget where he played in. I forgot what competition he played in, but he's been over there. Gozo's making a move. Then you've got Mehmeti and Hall who are playing for the MLS. Like, guys, you guys won a meaningless U20 Gold Cup. Like, that's just the reality of it. Like, our best players were not out there. The last 2 times you have beat the US in Gold Cup finals, whether that's the senior level or the youth level, our best players were not out there. So, yeah, enjoy the win, but realize that context matters in all of this. And the biggest thing that everyone kept saying in the comments was, well, you lost to Belgium. Yeah, no shit, we lost to Belgium. But at least we didn't be up a man for 40 minutes at home and then get an absolute gift of a PK just to get us back into the game and then just send in another cross. I think since I've been talking about this, I think Quinones just sent in another cross and Dan Burn headed it away like they always did. Like Mexico, you had a worse loss than what the U.S. did against Belgium. Like, let's be 100% real. You were at home in the Azteca with how such a tough environment it is. It's a beehive. You know, everyone hates to play here. The altitude. If I had to hear one more stupid thing about the altitude, yet you ended up losing to England, a team that, you know, was down a player for 40 minutes. They had 6'7" Dan Burn back there for 15, 20 minutes, who can't dribble a ball. All he did was just head it away. I think since I last mentioned, he just headed away another cross. Like Mexico, you had a worse loss than us. Take your victory lap against the U20 C team for the U.S. men's national team. Enjoy it because that's all you really got. And because when we know that you guys still can't get past the round of 16, at least the U.S. has gotten past the round of 16 in this century, or at least in the last 40 years. At least we've done that. We beat you guys. 2-0. But, I was arguing with a lot of Mexico fans yesterday, and I thought I would just do that. Let's take a quick break here. We'll talk about Mauricio Pochettino and will he be here for the 2030 World Cup. Get my thoughts on it. James' thoughts, your thoughts on it. Again, episode 329. We'll continue after this.
Welcome to the National Soccer Network, your home for soccer. One destination, every match, every moment. Built for players, powered by passion. Live games, highlights, and more each and every day. Only on the National Soccer Network.
The biggest stage in world soccer is here, and every goal changes
everything. Do you have the USL
FanDuel
2
is
final
giving
highlights?
you a reason to root for every single one. Introducing Every Goal Pays. Bet on a match and get bonus bets for every goal scored in that match. More goals means more bonus bets, and all you have to do is turn on your token. The U.S. look like they are truly poised for a dream run at this point. From the opening whistle to the final kick, let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started
What day
now.
was
21
that?
and over,
Was that
select state. For Kansas,
August
an
1st.
affiliation with Kansas Star Casino.
It should be like the
18 and
mo-
over,
if you're just going to
BC,
recents,
Kentucky,
that's
and
probably the
Wyoming.
most
Gambling
recent
problem?
thing.
Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-MY-RESET. In Connecticut, call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat. In Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. In Massachusetts, visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-327-5050. In New York, call 1-877-8H-OPE
Did we already get a highlight reel?
or text HOPE-NY. In
Should be.
Louisiana, call 1-877-770-7867. And listen to Orange Slices, sponsored by FanDuel Predicts,
Also,
wherever
make sure
you
you
get your
turn
podcasts.
ads
Great
on
game
for the
footage
video.
starts with
YouTube
Vio.
video.
Now a pass deep and up front. With NSN, we can transfer your Vio footage into a professional broadcast. Elevate your Vio experience today. Call 248-525-2083.
Opportunity and a shot and a goal!
The National Soccer Network, your home for soccer.
All right, one more ad.
All right.
I got game of the week. USL 2 highlights, first half. Nope. Yeah, I guess I know what it was named.
Mike is live, by the way. Mike is live. Yours? Yeah, your mic's up.
They're both muted.
Mike is live, by the way. Welcome back into Inside the Game, episode 329. My name's Ryan Glinsky. Apologize for the you hearing James and I. Mauricio Pochettino is signed with the U.S. men's national team, or at least extended with the U.S. men's national team, up into 2030. And I still cannot find anything if he's got a release clause in there or the buyout clause, whatever it is. I don't know what it is, what it would be for a. I know release clause is a player thing. I think a coach is probably a buyout. I would imagine. It is. He signed to 2030, which means he's got a Copa America in there, which is in 2020. What year is it? 2026? 2028. I think the Gold Cup is 2029 or 2027. I don't know exactly what year is that. He also has to qualify for this upcoming World Cup compared to the most recent cycle where all we had to do was just show up because we paid for it. We paid to have the World Cup. So we were like, yeah, here you go. I'm just kidding. I always find it funny. We didn't have to show up for it, but we got there. We won a couple of games in the World Cup. We won 3, which is I think the most I have ever seen the U.S. ever do, besides 2002. But then in 1930, when there was like 20 teams, and we still made all the way to the semifinals and got 3rd place. But I still have a lot of questions about Pochettino and if he's going to be here and if he's even the right choice, because you think about it with the U.S. men's national team, I think they waste a lot of people's times in terms of just everything. I mean, you think about the post Greg Berhalter 2022, he gets fired, and then we bring in I think B.J. Callahan as an interim for a little bit, maybe someone else, and then all of a sudden, boom, Greg Berhalter's back again. Don't know why, but he was. And then he has a failed Copa America stint in 2024 where we got grouped at home. We lost to Uruguay. We lost to Panama. And I think we beat Bolivia. I don't remember who we beat in the first one, but we beat a very poor side in the first match. But so then all of a sudden after that debacle, we have to wait like another 6 months or whatever it is until we eventually land on Mauricio Pochettino. And Pochettino was simply brought here to not embarrass ourselves in front of the world and at a home World Cup. We talked about that. And then he has I think the way it ended kind of skewed everyone's views and vision on how successful this World Cup really was for the U.S. It was a successful World Cup for the most part. I know the Belgium loss was not really what everybody wanted after we got BTA'd by them. But you look at what he did against Paraguay, great match. You have to win the games that you have to win. Beat a good Australia side who was in the round of 32, and then lost in the round of 16 the previous World Cup. Turkey, again, you had a whole bunch of bench players and you were competitive right to the last end. Legitimately the last kick of the game against Turkey. Then you go and beat Bosnia. I know Bosnia is not the greatest team in the world, but again, you still have to beat the teams that are in front of you. Did they beat a team that they were better than? No, they didn't. They lost to the only team that was better than them. Maybe you could argue Turkey is a better side than the U.S. men's national team, but I look at the last couple of World Cups, I would probably disagree with you on that case, because when the lights shine the brightest, Turkey always falls short. It's always funny that they're a dark horse every single time. But you look at Pochettino now, he signed up into 2030, at least extended to 2030, but I got a couple of really, really big questions. And the biggest one is going to be, once that next Copa America comes around, can you beat the bigger teams that you have to beat? He's beaten a Uruguay in a friendly, but that one doesn't really matter to me at all. And you're going to have to come up against a side like a Uruguay, a Colombia, an Argentina, a Brazil, an Ecuador even. Those are all good sides. Can you knock off any of them? Because that's how you got to go far in that Copa America, because we didn't show it in the last Copa America. The last one in 2016, I think we knocked off Ecuador in the quarterfinals, because I think it was just quarterfinals is where it starts. They don't even have a round of 16. Got to a quarterfinals, and then ultimately I think lost like 4-0 to Argentina and Messi, I think it was. I remember that game. We got absolutely destroyed by Argentina. But can you go and win a game? Now, and also, if he does have a successful Copa America where he doesn't get fired from it, because if he doesn't have a successful Copa America, he's not going to be here by the 2030 World Cup. Is he going to want to leave, though? The biggest question is, though, is he going to want to leave at some point to take on a club coaching job? Would Tottenham ever want him back? Would Manchester United? Again, the Manchester United job will most likely be open a couple of times in the next 4 years going into 2030. We know how they operate and how they operate with managers. Chelsea, are they going to want to bring him back? The Chelsea job, we know if the Manchester United job is going to be open a couple of times during the window, the Chelsea job will be open much more than that. Is a club come calling back for Mauricio Pochettino? I don't know. And the biggest one that the potential job that he could take, what if he were to take the Argentina job? What if Scaloni is like, you know what, I don't want to be here anymore as the Argentina manager, and they have all these, everyone has been saying they have all these different, I don't want to say sanctions, but all these different conspiracies and all these different rules broken. Is he going to have to retire maybe? Is he going to have to leave the job and leave Argentina just to save himself and save his coaching career? Maybe he goes coach somewhere else. But what is stopping Argentina from going to Pochettino and saying, hey, you've coached at a World Cup before. You're from Argentina. Why don't you come manage us? Like, there's nothing stopping Argentina from doing that. And what makes Pochettino just sit there and be like, yeah, I would much rather manage my home country rather than manage the U.S. men's national team. There's nothing stopping that. And we can all say, well, he's fallen in love with this. He's fallen in love with Country Road. He's fallen in love with the country. He's fallen in love. Sure, that's all sweet and dandy, but I mean, if I'm being honest, money talks, and I think managing your home nation in a World Cup, and especially a nation like Argentina, whether Messi's there or not, I think is the biggest managerial prize that Mauricio Pochettino could ultimately have, and I think that is what he could be persuaded that way. And then you look at Pochettino and you look at him and his body of work against the big teams. It's not particularly good. Losing to Mexico in the Gold Cup, yes, were his best players there? No, they weren't. I understand that. Losing to international friendlies to Portugal and Belgium. Again, friendlies don't matter, but the way it looked was not the greatest thing that I would have liked. And they lost to Germany as well. And then you look at the Belgium game. Obviously, they were not even on the same field as Belgium right at the get-go. From the first kick, we looked like we were a step behind. We looked a little bit slower. Our quality was way worse than them right from the first whistle. So he hasn't really performed in the biggest moments for the U.S. men's national team as a coach. He has not won those games. As much as I love Pochettino, as much as I thought the World Cup was a success, he does not show up in the big moments he does not win those big games that the U.S. men's national team needs to do. I have said after the World Cup, we are in the same spot we were in 2014. We are now into this, how do we get to the next step? How do we beat the Belgiums, the Colombias? How do we beat those teams? Well, we are doing all the things that we thought in 2014 should catapult us and get us to that next level. Our players playing in Europe, playing in Champions Leagues, playing in Premier Leagues, playing in Bundesligas, Serie A's, whatever it is. Oh, wait, now we're going to bring in a manager who took Tottenham to a Champions League final and took Chelsea and PSG to heights as well. So we've done all of that, yet it's the same story from 12 years ago, from 2014. It's the same exact story. The only reason we were in the game closer in 2014 rather than this time around was because of the fact that Tim Howard was in net and he could save the Titanic. That's the only reason we were in that game back then compared to this time. If we had Tim Howard would have faced the same amount of shots he did this time around than he did back in 2014. But that's the biggest issue with Mauricio Pochettino is he has not won those games that he was brought here to do. Alexi Lala said Pochettino was brought here to win this game, to win against Belgium in the World Cup in the round of 16. He failed miserably at it. We were not on the same field. If it looked different where we lost like 2-1 or 2-0, but we were really starting to threaten in on the goal, then I would say that's a much different story and I would respect that much more. However, our only goal that we had in that game came from a deflected free kick from Malik Tillman that went into the back of the net. That was true. That was it. That's all it was. Like we didn't threaten the goal at all in that game. Then you've got Pulisic who was hurt or whatever it was. Balogun wasn't, I don't think, up to match speed after his suspension and his red card reversal. So there's a lot of big question marks that I have about Mauricio Pochettino. Is he that type of guy that's going to be able to elevate us just a little bit more and take us to the next step? I don't know if he is because he hasn't shown it. Are his players the best? No, it's not. But if he was really making a difference in this coaching space and for the U.S. men's national team, wouldn't that game have looked a lot different back in July or June, whenever the game was? It would have looked a lot different. However, it didn't. You could tell in the first 2 minutes of that game, we should have given up a goal in the first 2 minutes. But Matt Freese made an unbelievable save and pulled off a fantastic save to just keep it at 0-0. But realistically, we probably should have gone down a goal in the first 2 minutes. We looked like we did not deserve to be on the same field as Belgium that night. And Pochettino now has to do that. Can he beat, again, if you even look at the upcoming friendlies, we don't really have anyone big to play against. Yeah, we got Mexico, Canada, and I think Peru and Chile, I think are the 4 teams. Again, we can talk about that in a second as well. about that we need to continue to schedule these harder friendlies. Yeah, I would much rather lose 3-4-0 against a Portugal and a Belgium rather than beat Peru 7-8-0 that what we normally would do. Like you learn much more in a loss rather than a blowout win. It just does. Maybe they want to captivate more American audience and be like, well, you know what? We're still winning games against these teams, so maybe that's the reason for it. But now, despite having a Gold Cup and now a Copa America that he now has to navigate, a World Cup qualifying cycle. A World Cup qualifying cycle. That didn't happen last time for Pochettino or the U.S. men's national team. The only World Cup qualifying cycle that this group has been a part of, Pulisic was in the 2018 World Cup cycle, and we know how all that turned out. But again, he was just a teenager back then. In 2022, he was a part of that World Cup cycle as well, and then now he's going to have to be a part of the 2030 World Cup. So how does this team go down to a Trinidad and Tobago, go down to the Azteca, and then has to play against a Mexico and a Canada and more teams in a World Cup qualifying high intense game? How are they going to be able to navigate this? Because remember, they didn't play in the Gold Cup last summer. Their only high-pressure games were in the World Cup, and that obviously is the highest of the highs as a group together. That's the highest and the most tough environment that they could be a part of. Some were in the Copa America, not all, but most of them were in the Copa America, not under the same manager, but Pochettino has never been in a World Cup qualifying cycle. Is he going to be able to navigate that very well? Is he going to be able to navigate and keep his team fresh? Is he going to be able to play the games with the CONCACAF nations and their fans when you schedule like 10 different hotels to just try to throw them off where they're actually going to be until they find you, and then they're lighting off fireworks and banging on drums up until 5 or 6 in the morning just so you can't sleep and get that extra rest and you're a little bit sluggish going into that game the next day? Is he going to be able to do all this? I don't know. Only time's going to tell. But there are a lot of question marks for Mauricio Pochettino. And I think the biggest thing is the fact that he has not won that game yet for the U.S. men's national team, and he also has not navigated a World Cup qualifying cycle. And who says he doesn't leave during these next 4 years? Who says that in next summer where the Gold Cup happens, who says that he doesn't just get up and leave and go take another job? I still think he was doing a disservice to himself that he would take a club job right now, because you're battling a very shortened schedule to get going into your season. And I think if you were Pochettino and you were to take a club job this calendar year, you would wait until one opened up in the middle of the season, because you'd be putting yourself behind the 8 ball, because you would not have a summer transfer window. You just wouldn't. You wouldn't have it one. And if you did, it was 2 or 3 weeks. So you didn't get your scouting networks in. You didn't talk with the players. You didn't talk about and discuss who we should sell and who we should bring in that fits your team profile or the academy systems. Like that hasn't happened yet. But if he is going to take a job, who says he doesn't take a job next summer for a Manchester United or a Chelsea, or I mean, maybe Man City becomes open if Maresca doesn't do very well. Maybe Liverpool as well, which for some reason Jeff Bezos might be investing in Liverpool. By the way, I don't know if people saw that this morning, but there's been a report that Jeff Bezos of Amazon wants to invest into Liverpool. I mean, I thought maybe he would just want to invest into an American team rather than a team in Europe. But hey, man, he's got the most. Does he or Elon Musk have more money? James, you know? Is it?
I think Elon Musk has the most, because for a split second he was a trillionaire. So
Elon Musk has the most money. Bezos is probably second.
Yeah, I think they go hand in hand.
Makes sense. But anyway, he could be investing in Liverpool. But again, those are the biggest questions I have.
Oh no, he's number 3. I'm sorry.
Who's number 2?
Larry Page for Google.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Again, very, very wealthy people. But again, and for the American soccer, well, how do we make soccer more affordable? Well, go find them and tell them to invest in a soccer academy. There you go. That's how you make soccer affordable in this country. That's what you do. The Elon Musk Tesla Soccer Academy, or the Amazon Jeff Bezos Academy. I don't know. That's how you make it affordable. But no, lots of big questions for Mauricio Pochettino, and this is a very big stretch for the U.S. men's national team as well, because now I feel like they have the American audience's attention now. now it's about and especially with baseball happening, and obviously we haven't even been on air for the Tarek Skubal news with him getting traded to the Dodgers, and if the Dodgers win another World Series, we're going to have another lockout. And especially with baseball, next summer, is baseball going to be able to even have a season next year? That's a big question. I don't think it happens, especially if the Dodgers win a World Series. So that creates a massive void for the sports consumer next summer, because you don't have baseball on every single day from April all the way to really realistically September, October, every single day. But that's a big void. But now you've got the nation's attention. How can you start turning a lot of these fans into diehard soccer fans? But big 4 years coming up for Pochettino. Haven't even mentioned the prospects that might be getting integrated into the squad just a little bit. Kevin Sullivan, Gozo, you heard his name. Neil Pierre, the 6'6" athletic freak of a center back, very smart player as well. If you watch some of his games in the Philadelphia Union, and then Mehmeti, Julian Hall, and Mateus Albert, and then Diego Cochen as well, who's at Barcelona. So there's lots of key players and a lot of young players. Can he kind of find the right mix of, and then even Noah Kai Banks, is he gonna? I mean, he could realistically. Germany might need him as well, because Germany is absolutely cooked when it comes to soccer. But can he mix in that current 2026 World Cup squad with some of those prospects, or is he going to do a full rebuild? I highly doubt it's a full rebuild. Feels more like a more of a retool because of the amount of players and the amount of quality players that he has. Blake Tillman, Pulisic, McKennie, Adams, Richards. There's a lot of players. But anyway, we're going to step aside. We'll talk about the Premier League on the other side of this. So don't go anywhere. Inside the Game 329 will continue after this.
Great game footage starts with Veo. Now a pass deep and up front. With NSN, we can transfer your Veo footage into a professional broadcast. Elevate your Veo experience today. Call 248-525-2083.
Opportunity and a shot and a goal!
The National Soccer Network, your home for soccer.
West Coast Goalkeeping, America's largest goalkeeper outfitter. Built by keepers, worn by pros. Made for keepers who live to stop everything.
All right, welcome into Inside the Game, episode 329. My name's Ryan Glinsky, James Schofield, our producer here this morning. But again, make sure you guys smash that like button. We only have one like on the video, is what it's showing me. So make sure you guys smash that like button if you guys have not already. Subscribe if you have not already. We're only like 5 away from 14.1 thousand subscribers. So make sure you guys subscribe if you have not already. Before we get into the Premier League talk, we finally got the USL 2 highlights to show you guys, so appreciate James for this. But again, no, you can throw them up at any time. But no, it was, again, this is the game winner right here with Ryan Zelafro. It was just a poor mistake on Steve Clark's part leading up to that goal. The teenager who would score the game-winning goal steps up in a big-time spot. I think he scored like 5 or 6 goals in the playoffs the entire run for Vermont Green. But yeah, no, he's an absolute talent. Obviously plays for the University of Vermont as well. But no, it was a great game, and Zelafro was the catalyst for this team, and he's now a two-time national champion. This is, I believe, the own goal on the way in. It goes off Ellis Jones, who typically is so good back there for Flint City, puts it in his own, or puts it in the back of the net, or puts it in his own net here, but he's typically so good. But just a big miscue right here, and really both of the Vermont goals were off Flint miscues on the way into both of the goals. So really uncharacteristic. But then this was like, I think, a minute and a half later, and a set piece comes in. Ellis Jones does make up for it as he heads it into his center back partner in Paiva, who puts the ball in the back of the net. That'd be the lone goal for Flint City, as all three goals really just came against the run of play. If you really think about it, you had a big own goal, then you had two goals from set pieces. But that is how this game wrapped up just over 2 weeks ago. It's just crazy to think that was over 2 weeks ago. Feels like it was yesterday, but and it feels like yesterday the USL 2 season was just getting started back in May. But again, a great finish, and you can catch all the interviews we did on our social media pages, as well as our last live show, which was actually at Atwood Stadium the day before, as we were watching all the training sessions that day. But let's get into the Premier League talk here a little bit, because I'm very, very interested to see what this Premier League season is like. And I think this is going to finally tell if this expanded World Cup format is actually something that should continue to stay, or we should just scrap it immediately, because how does this affect the club scene in this upcoming season? Because you look at it, a lot of these players were playing up into July 9th. That means the Premier League season doesn't start until August 22nd. And I think by the union or the law, whatever it is for soccer players, I don't know exactly who implemented it, or maybe it was just FIFA. All they did was shorten the season, or shorten the off season for these guys, and they have to have a minimum of 4 weeks off from the World. So if you played in that final 4 games, or the final 2 games, if you made it to the semifinals, if you play in the third place and then the finals, you get a mandatory at a minimum of just 4 weeks off, which means that takes you right up to about the season starting. So they're not even with their teams. I have seen a couple Arsenal players like David Raya and Bukayo Saka. They showed up a little bit early. They cut their holiday short, as they say. But again, some of these players were playing 50, 60 games this past year for their club sides, if they were in the Champions League, or they made deep runs into the World Cup. But how does this truly affect it? Swiss Michael says, "Hey guys, nice to see you again." Nice to see you too, Swiss. It's been like 2 weeks since we've done a show from in here. So, but
been a minute.
But you look at, how does this affect everyone? You look at just looking at the Premier League as a whole. You look at the big six. You look, and then you can throw in Aston Villa as well, because they've had a very good start, or they've had a very good recent run of the last couple of years. Newcastle's just completely gone down by the wayside. They have lost everyone. Gordon, Guimaraes now, and Isak over the years. Like, they are just completely cooked. But you look at Arsenal for the first example. Look at Saka, look at Rice, Raya, Saliba got hurt. So they're losing a lot of key players, even Eze as well. Eze didn't feature as much for England as those other guys that I just mentioned, but there's a lot of players that made very deep runs for those countries, and they might not be up to speed. I know Arteta's already said that he doesn't even intend on playing some of those players the first month of the season, just because he knows that he needs them for the run-in and to make a deep Champions League run, and I assume that he's probably trying to go for the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup as well. But then you look at Manchester City. Obviously, the biggest thing is no Pep Guardiola. Rodri seems like he's going to be out the door to Barcelona, which would be a fantastic signing for Barcelona. It would be the detriment to Man City, because Pep Guardiola, Rodri just made that team just a house of horrors for such a long time. But again, they have a new manager. We don't know if that's going to be the old Man City. Again, Man City hasn't looked like themselves normally the last couple of years. But then you look at and then Maresca, how is he going to get on at Man City? He had a good start last year with Chelsea, but that ultimately just fell through. But speaking of Chelsea, you look at Chelsea and Liverpool, new managers that you're bringing in, Xabi Alonso, you're bringing in Areola from Bournemouth. Yeah, Areola has managed in the Premier League before, but a different beast from Bournemouth to Liverpool, and apparently Jeff Bezos is going to invest in that side. But when you spend more money at Liverpool, you typically don't get better. Just check out the last window with Isak. But again, it's going to be crazy. Then you think about Manchester United, and you think about Tottenham. Tottenham is just cooked. They're just trash. Let's just be real. They're just ass. They've made some adjustments, but again, I don't think those signings are going to catapult them all of a sudden from 17th all the way into the top 4. I don't believe that's going to happen. But then you look at Manchester United. They haven't made a ton of signings, but you think about them as a whole. Are they really going to make a difference? Because they now have to play Champions League football on a week in, week out basis. They were playing last year on average every 4 or 5 days. Now you've got to play every 2 days. I don't think their team is deep enough. I don't think they're talented enough to win on both fronts. Obviously, if you're in the Champions League, you should go for it. But I don't think that they'll be able to play in both environments, in the Champions League and in the Premier League. Swiss is talking about. He says, oh, where I just saw it. Chelsea's going to be hot this year because of Xabi Alonso. I would say that. See, I think Xabi Alonso's a good manager. I do, because of what he did at Bayer Leverkusen. I think the Real Madrid thing was a total mess, and I don't think he was really in control of that team and in all the signings as well. I don't think he was in control. So I think that kind of hurts him a little bit. But then he's going into a club like Chelsea, which I don't really think that Chelsea can be saved at this point in their history, because I mean, they've already spent, I think, $360 million. They spent $117 on Morgan Rogers, more on Aston Villa in a second. But I don't believe that. I think $117 is a massive overpay for Morgan Rogers. And that's not because I'm an Arsenal fan or anything like that, because we were trying to sign him. Look, the dude should have been bought for a maximum $80 million. I don't even think he was worth $80 million, but that is just the English tax, as they say, and the market is just crazy. Chelsea's the reason why the transfer market is as crazy as it is. Oh, another thing with Manchester City is who they just spent over $100 million on. Elliot Anderson made another deep run with England as well, so he's had a ton of games under his belt. But you look at Chelsea again. They just have too many players, man. They have all the same players as well, and again, they're going to still get a ton of red cards. I think they're going to look a little bit better. I could see them getting back into the Champions League, but I just don't think that I just don't think Alonso's going to be like the great answer. And how long is he really going to have? What if he slips? What if he loses 3 straight games in the Premier League, or doesn't win a game, or he doesn't have a win in 5 games in the Premier League? What happens then? Does he get booted like all the other Chelsea managers? Because it's important for managers to have time and to be patient, because it's not like Pep Guardiola, where all of a sudden you can become a Premier League champion within 2 years. That's just a different animal with Pep Guardiola. I mean, Arteta took him a while to get going. It took Jurgen Klopp. He was taking more steps early on than Arteta was, but he wasn't at Liverpool wasn't at that level right away. It took some time. So I don't know. That's a good question, Swiss, or that's a good point, Swiss, but I just don't know if Alonso is going to be given the time, and I don't know if Chelsea has vastly improved since last season in the transfer window. We'll have to wait and see. Then you think about Aston Villa. They've already lost Onana out for an extended period of time. He tore his ACL against the U.S. Back in the round of 16. So Onana, a key player for them. Emi Martinez, I get it's a goalie, but he played all the way up into the World Cup final. Phenomenal final for him in the World Cup against Spain. But then you just look at a lot of the other players. Konsa might be out the window. And now they have to play European Champions League football as well. So you look at Aston Villa, and I just don't see a case where they make it that far in the tournament. I just really don't, or they make a deep run into the Premier League season. But again, I believe that we're going to see a lot more losses towards the team at the top. I think Arsenal finished on 91 or 92 points this year. I forget exactly. I don't think a team is going to reach the 90-point mark this season for the Premier League, because I just don't think these players are going to be able to keep up with all the standards of playing in the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, the World, or the Champions League, the Premier League, after coming off a long and grueling World Cup. And if they want to expand this even more to 64 teams, I mean, it's going to get even worse. I don't think it's going to affect the La Liga or the Bundesliga as much, simply because, I mean, it's really just one or two teams, and even if in the Bundesliga, it's just Bayern Munich. So, and then even Ligue 1 as well with PSG. But I genuinely feel that it's going to be a very long Premier League season. I don't think it's going to be pretty like we typically see. And I think that roster congestion, especially, or that fixture congestion rather, is going to get really congested come around Christmas time in January all the way up into March. So it's going to be an interesting Premier League season. I think it's going to be wide open. Should be exciting on all of this, but no, I think all the roster or the fixture congestion, especially with these World Cup players going a very far distance. You think about Spain, and you think about all their players that played for Real Madrid, Barcelona. Some of them are Arsenal players, obviously, and then you think about England as well. How many players? All of their players played for. All of France. All of their players, and then Argentina, I know, may not be affected as much because Messi and a majority of their players are not playing in Europe. Most of them are playing whether in South America or in North America. But I genuinely believe that the World Cup fixtures and all the scheduling is going to create a lot of issues. Last comment before we take our break here: Aston Villa is my team this year because of our Swiss. Manzambi. Wow. Okay, gotcha. I didn't know Manzambi made the move to Aston Villa. I've been slacking a lot on the transfers. I think I watch Premier League much more now because of you, Ryan. Damn you. LOL. Apologies, Swiss. Apologies. But we'll talk about more FIFA corruption on the other side of this. It just does not stop with them. So don't go anywhere. 329. We'll continue after this.
Great game footage starts with Vio. Now a pass deep and up front. With NSN, we can transfer your Vio footage into a professional broadcast. Elevate your Vio experience today. Call 248-525-2083.
Opportunity and a shot and a goal!
The National Soccer Network, your home for soccer. Great game footage starts with Vio. Now a pass deep and up front. With NSN, we can transfer your Vio footage into a professional broadcast. Elevate your Vio experience today. Call 248-525-2083.
Opportunity and a shot and a goal!
The National Soccer Network, your home for
The
soccer.
biggest stage in world soccer is here, and every goal changes everything. FanDuel is giving you a reason to root for every single one. Introducing Every Goal Pays. Bet on a match and get bonus bets for every goal scored in that match. More goals means more bonus bets, and all you have to do is turn on your token. The U.S. look like they are truly poised for a dream run at this point. From the opening whistle to the final kick, let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started now. 21 and over, select state. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. 18 and over in D.C., Kentucky, and Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-MY-RESET. In Connecticut, call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat. In Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. In Massachusetts, visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-327-5050. In New York, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Louisiana, call 1-877-770-7867. And listen to Orange Slices, sponsored by FanDuel Predicts, wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, welcome back into Inside the Game at 329. My name is Ryan Glinsky. James Schofield, our producer, in the building. We will have members only after this as well today. We have been kicking around. Maybe we do a 90-minute show, just like in soccer. So we go 9 a.m. to 10:30. We're thinking about doing that. So if you guys are interested in a 9 to 10:30 show for the 90 minutes, then we could definitely do that. We've been throwing around the idea, and then obviously if we run out of stuff to talk about, we can always talk about the what's going on, because obviously football season, American football season, is kicking off here shortly. Within, I think it's under a month now, maybe a little bit more. College football, I know, is less than a month because of that, but. Swiss just basically just read my mind. Hey, CONCACAF, UEFA, and AFC just made a statement versus the FIFA, and FIFA needs a new lead and more transparency. You are 100% correct. That was exactly how I was going to go into. That's exactly how I drew it up. That's exactly how I parlayed it into this topic. But no, we were going to talk about that with the FIFA corruption. UEFA, CONCACAF, and AFC, which is the Asia Football, I think, Confederation, believe that FIFA President Infantino's recent plan to sell an interest in the World Cup was a, quote, fundamental breach of trust, end quote. In an open letter to the football family revealed on Monday, those three federations said when trust, quote, when trust is broken through deception, when an individual places himself above the collective that entrusted him with authority, that duty has been abandoned, end quote. And again, no words from, I believe, no other words from the CONMEBOL or the AFCON, which kind of checks out if I'm being completely honest with you guys. But because if you look at the history of those countries and in the World Cup and with being involved with FIFA, lots of shady stuff happens. But no, I think that it is I think this is expected. I think Infantino is going to be out soon. I think the only way you get rid of someone is if everyone just starts getting upset about it, and you can already see again. The biggest one is the fact that UEFA's pissed off. Look, you can't have a World Cup without UEFA. If you don't have UEFA in it, whoever wins it has to have a massive asterisk, because you think about it in the Final Four this year, three of the best four teams three of the final four teams were from UEFA. So that's something that you've got to factor in. And CONCACAF, I know CONCACAF is a little bit on the smaller side of the smaller scale of things because of everything. And then if you also look at Asia as well, smaller side of things, but the more federations you can get involved, the more work you guys can get done, and the more change that people want to happen can happen. And I think that's a good start. CONMEBOL and AFCON, that's a totally different scenario, and based on the last 12 months or so of those two federations, crazy things have happened. And again, if we can just wrap up what the actual point was, why they're actually pissed is Infantino actually wanted to sell portions of the World Cup to private investors. I believe JP Morgan was one of the companies that was involved. I don't know the exact company, but it was an American company. And I think it was JP Morgan that he wanted to sell in pocket, I think, an extra $20 million or $1 billion or whatever it was. I forget what. But again, it's a horrible idea. I understand why he's doing it. It's to generate more money for himself. It's to generate more money for the federation, for FIFA. Again, not a massive issue with it. If you're trying to make more money, the biggest issue is that everyone's going to get mad at you, and you shouldn't be doing this anyway, because you look at the tournament as a whole. It belongs to the people, as they say. It belongs to the world. It's the world's game, and not having that involved, or not having or breaching rules and trying to have greed and capitalism and all that fun stuff. People are going to take too kindly to that. And then you think about it as well with the Super League. It's very, very reminiscent of what the European Super League was back in 2021. I think the spring of 2021. That was wild. And it quickly disappeared within, I think, a couple days because of the backlash that everyone got. Soccer is the only league, or the only sport and the only leagues where I've actually seen people who are upset with the leagues, because obviously the NFL, NHL, MLB, NBA, and all that fun stuff. People are upset all the time, but nothing really changes because the fans don't really get pissed off about it. They don't really protest. They don't really they don't actually they don't do anything about it. We just kind of bitch and moan and don't do anything. But whereas the soccer fans, they actually get out there, protest. They wouldn't go to games. They just stand outside the stadiums just chanting, and then they're like, "Oh crap, we actually got to change things." So again, if this continues to keep going, and if anything were to happen, I would think the fans and all the different federations would get pissed off about it. I think that's the biggest thing. I don't think anything's going to happen with this private investor thing. I think the only change that you could see come the 2030 World Cup is that it is an expanded field, simply because of how successful this new expanded format was this year. Compared to what it was normally in the expanded field, and having all the different teams and a lot of smaller nations like Cape Verde, in all those different countries, making a couple of runs at it in the World Cup. Swiss says Europe is not big enough to kick them out, but UEFA has leverage. Also, top players from other continents still play in Europe. I think Europe has a lot of leverage, because you think about it, their best players, the best teams, the best nations, the best players play in Europe. They play in the European nations. I mean, I forgot the number I did in the top 15. I think 11 of the top 15 nations in the world are actually in Europe. That's just a proven stat that those are the best players that play in UEFA. That's just the reality of it. And you have to have those best players in there, and those best teams in there. We're just going to start throwing more CONMEBOL and CONCACAF nations and AFCON and Asia teams in there? No, because that would just, all of a sudden, the USA might actually make a semifinal of a World Cup, because all the teams in there are ass now. But you have to have those teams in there. You've got to have the Belgiums, the Netherlands, the Frances, the Englands. You've got to have those teams. If Dave's still in there, we've got to have Scotland, Swiss. We got to have Switzerland in there. They got to make some deep runs in the tournament. But in reality, is you have to have the UEFA teams in there. The leverage, I think, is all on UEFA, because I feel like if you're UEFA, you've got to be the catalyst for all of this. You've got to sit there and try to get all the other federations like CONCACAF and Asia and AFCON and CONMEBOL, because UEFA may not have the shady side of things down, because it feels like they can just kind of keep everything relatively, straightforward. But if you can get all these other federations to kind of get behind you and get what you're selling, then you can absolutely make a change, because once all those different federations get involved, there's really nothing that FIFA can do, because without all the best teams, no one's going to want to watch the World Cup. That's just the reality of it. And if you could get more teams and more countries and more federations to start to, not necessarily boycott, but, get upset about it, maybe they boycott a couple of things here and there, then yeah, I mean, we can absolutely see something like that happen. But I think that if everyone can just stand up and then show that they're pissed off at everyone, then no. But I think the biggest thing is trying to get Infantino out of office if you can. I don't think that he's going to be out of it anytime soon. If this continues to linger and more people continue to get pissed off as the year progresses, and even into next year, if it spills over, then you can see something. But again, it is FIFA. It's very corrupt. You look at Sepp Blatter, the old FIFA president. I think he was right before Infantino. He was massively corrupt. That's how Qatar got a World Cup in 2022. And then you look at Infantino recently. He's been very corrupt as well. So again, you just look at it. You just look at it from afar. And I just don't think that most of those guys are going to. I don't think that they're going to last very long. But we'll continue to monitor this thing as always. Make the lady from Norway the new FIFA boss. Why her? Why her, Swiss? But let's get into question of the day before we get into our members only hero talk. We'll be talking a little bit more about the American game with the MLS and how to actually capitalize on all that fun stuff with the academies and the selling of players into Europe. So, James, what is, in fact, our question of the day?
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go right back to it because, I've been so obsessed with it because it was so much fun. I mean, what was the best part of that USL 2 season this season? I mean, obviously the final was an amazing match overall, but out of the entire season, what would you say was the best moment?
the best moment probably, I mean, the final is, I thought personally, it wasn't really a game, but just being there for the last show that we did at Atwood Stadium, that was a lot of fun. Just being in the environment, just being like seeing training sessions, seeing all the behind the scenes stuff getting done. That was a lot of fun, and obviously talking with the GM or the sporting director of Vermont Green and with Joel Nash as well. That was an absolute blast.
Yeah.
But I would say that probably the best moment though was probably Mueller Jensen's goal against Ventura County, because I think it was a Sunday. I think we're all expecting it to go into extra time. It was 0-0 for the longest time. James, I don't think you were there with us that day, but it was 0-0. It felt like it was going to go 0-0. It really just felt like it was going to go to a PK shootout. However, it didn't. Bingo wins it, gets it up into Shillington. He gets fouled, and then Lopez to Ludwig, and then Mueller Jensen scores it in the last kick of the game. Great counterattack move. It was a phenomenal finish. But that was probably my highlight of the season. Actually, that's probably another. Is a collection though. If you ever watch like the Northeast Division and AC Connecticut, just watch their games, because they're like bangers every single game with them, whether it's the other team or them. So seeing all those crazy goals go in the entire season was an absolute blast as well.
Yeah. I mean, for me, obviously, doing that on location was. Like that on location podcast episode was so great, especially because those interviews, obviously, like for you and I, like I'm all about improv and I'm all about, making things up on the fly. And that's what we were doing there. I mean, we had our format, right? But then, because we were on location, we would just randomly see somebody. It's like, oh, we want to interview that person. That'd be so great. And we were able to pull them in for that interview. And that was just so cool to be able to have that experience. But for me, I think my favorite one, I was producing the Lubbock Matadors, and it wasn't necessarily the game itself, but like everything that was involved with it. Because again, as I keep saying, I love doing everything around soccer as well, and just the production that they had going on, because they had kind of an on-site team and everything, and I was able to work with them, and it was just so much fun. It was such a fun atmosphere, and just everybody that I've had to work with on the USL2 side has just been phenomenal, and just those relationships and having those experiences. I know this is silly, but like their yellow card is sponsored by a lawyer.
It is.
So I think that's hilarious. Like that segment is sponsored by a lawyer. And it just all the experiences in general. Like I never thought I would have that in my life. And it was really cool.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And also, just so people know, no, the USL2 did not have a halftime show for the for the final. All they had was the singing of the national anthem. Outside of that, no one performed at halftime. But yeah, no, that'll wrap things up. We'll get into our members only right after this. Obviously, episode 330 will continue tomorrow. We should have a full slate of episodes all week. Nothing next week though. I will be gone unless someone else fills in. But again, I will be gone all of next week. I'm heading out on vacation, so nothing next week, at least from me. But yeah, no. So it has something printed on the yellow card? No, it's just whenever the yellow card goes up.
We throw a little graphic up. So whenever there's a yellow card, we would throw up a graphic that would say yellow card, and then underneath it would say sponsored by. It did not have presented by on the card itself. No, that would, something, I'm surprised FIFA never, I'm surprised the World Cup didn't have that. Yeah. Oh, you know what? That's a missed opportunity for them.
Yeah,
that is a missed opportunity. Oh, shoot. Don't give them any idea.
No, they'll probably figure it out eventually. It's just a matter of time. Soon, like, the goals will have, like, sponsors on them. Soon that'll happen. But anyway, that'll wrap up 329. We'll see you guys here bright and early tomorrow, unless you guys come over for our members only, which will be happening right after this. But until next time, so long. All right, everybody, welcome back into Inside the Game podcast.
You are a soccer nation.
Have such a deep appreciation for hyper-local, community-based, lower-level soccer. There's going to be millions of fans over here that want to watch and consume as much football as they can.
What you are doing is important. And this is all about, like I said, spreading the gospel. It takes a village, right?
No, I just really appreciate being on here and you being able to provide this platform for, us and all those people grinding away at the lower leagues, just trying to make great things happen. So I really appreciate you and you guys know what you're doing, and